Today we're going to be talking about how to make a tincture. Specifically, we're going to be talking about fresh herb tinctures, and we're not going to be messing around with too many measurements or things like that. I see a lot of tutorials that have a lot of measurements and ratios for their herbs, but they have one issue. If you're trying to harvest an herb all throughout the growing season, you might not have the correct ratios that you need for a tincture. You might be harvesting all year long and wanting to keep on adding to your tincture, so that's what we're going to focus on today. To get prepared for your harvest, all you need are a few things. You need some high proof alcohol. In particular, I'm using Everclear 151 proof grain alcohol. That means 151 proof, half of that, which is the alcohol content, is 75.5%. You can see there. I need a jar with a lid. Eventually, it's very helpful to have a dropper bottle like this. You can see it says lemon balm on this one, and that's the plant we're going to be using today for this. The first step is easy enough. You just take your grain alcohol, you add some of that to a jar or whatever you're keeping your tincture in. I definitely recommend glass, just to make sure that you're not going to be leaching any plastics or anything like that into your tincture. Glass jars, especially canning jars, are perfect for this. I didn't fill up my jar all the way. You'll see why I didn't do that later. I only filled it maybe a third, close to a half maybe of its full capacity. And I didn't add any water or dilute the alcohol at all. This is just the pure grain alcohol. When harvesting your lemon balm, or most of your herbs, one thing that I like to do is when I'm choosing where I want to harvest, I look at the structure of the plant. I usually would cut here because that allows me to harvest a few leaves. And then if you look right at the tip of my pruning shears, there's some buds coming out of the junction between the stem and the leaf parts. Those will grow, and then they will create more leaves, which then you'll be able to harvest later. You can see down here as well, a little bit larger of those buds. So those will branch out and they'll grow more leaves for you to harvest later, which is one of the reasons why I like this process so much more than harvesting a whole bunch of plant material and then making a tincture in one go. By cutting the plant, you're actually stimulating growth in other areas so that you can harvest more and more as the season goes on. One of the cool things of plant rearing there. what I was doing when I was harvesting the plant was I was cutting here, right above those buds, if you can still see them. Put this aside for a second. And then I was rolling up the leaf and then cutting it into my tincture. You don't have to strictly cut the leaf matter when you're making your tincture. I feel it just allows it to permeate through the liquid of the alcohol a little bit better. With lemon balm in particular, you can also use the stems in your tinctures as well. I usually tend to use mostly leaves, but since I harvested that stem, I may as well use it. An important precaution to take is to make sure that all the plant material is below the alcohol. That will make sure that the plant's matter doesn't rot or degrade, and then it'll be absorbed into the tincture. So make sure that it's all below the liquid line. And the reason I talked about earlier not filling the jar all the way with the alcohol was in case I added a lot of plant matter. I didn't want to overfill the liquid to make for it to come out the top. So that's kind of what I was doing there. The nice thing about this is if you wanted to add more plant matter, you could simply add the plant matter until it wasn't being covered by the liquid anymore, and then you just add more alcohol, and then you'll have your tincture. An important thing to note is let the tincture steep for at least 30 days after the last time that you add plant matter. That will allow for the plant matter to be absorbed into the tincture to a good degree. So for example, if I in 2 months added some more plant matter, I would have to wait another month after that to be able to strain and put my tincture into my droppers. The great thing about using jars like this is you can very easily write on the lid, and it's important to label what your tincture is. So here I am writing lemon balm. Well, I hope this helps you out, and I hope that you're able to make some tinctures. Thanks for watching.